Hello everyone and welcome to the newest series of the SportsByte show. I'm your host Chris Wright. Yes, it's been a while, but we're back and do we have a show for you? Coming up today on the show, we take a look back at some of the highlights of the Bucks season. We also speak to some of the players from the men's first basketball team after their fantastic year. We take a look at another minority sport in our latest Minority Minute, and we have all your latest sports news from around the city. The Bucks League across all sports has provided different levels of success for the university teams. In football, it has been a relatively quiet season for most of the sides, except for the men's second team, who gained promotion from the Northern 5B League, finishing in second place. It has been a year to forget for our volleyball sides, with both men and women teams finishing bottom of their respective leagues. Better luck next year, guys. The men's American football team finished second in the Northeastern American Football League. Absolutely fantastic effort from our boys there. And that is the Bucks over for another season. And now on to our news. We start with Premier League action now, and it has been a week to forget for Sunderland as they fight relegation from the Premier League. After losing last weekend, they were then fined by the FA for fielding an ineligible player early in the season. Former Sunderland striker Ji Dong-won played in the first 3 games of the season as was part of the clash with Manchester United without international clearance. Manager Gus Poyet has played down the situation, but with no win in the Premier League in 2 months, the Black Cats do not need any more bad luck as they prepare to do all they can to stay in the Premiership for another season. Staying with football, and former Sunderland ladies player Demi Stokes has earned an international call-up to England's women's team ahead of their 2015 Women's World Cup qualifier against Montenegro on April 5th. The former Black Cat ladies left-back, who currently plays for the University of South Florida, joined Sunderland's youth academy when she was just 8 years old and played for the first team for 4 years. Swimming now, and Paralympian Joseph Craig hopes his recent move to Sunderland Swimming Club will help him put him in the best performances of his life at the trials of the European Championships in Eindhoven later this month. The 17-year-old who won gold at the 2012 Paralympic Games and silver at the World Championships in Montreal recently moved to Sunderland after 9 years at South Tyneside to help get his overall time down in the 400 metres freestyle. And for more news on everything to do with Bucks and sport in the city, visit our SportsByte page at sportsbyte.org. If you're wondering why there is one glaring sport achievement missing from that Bucks roundup, that's because we felt they deserved a little more attention for their efforts this season. What a year it has been for the men's first basketball team. After winning the Northern 2B Bucks League in dramatic fashion in the final game of the season, they almost achieved similar success in the Founders Cup after they just missed out on reaching the final after losing to Guernsey. It's still been a pretty successful year for the side, so let's take a look at some of the highlights from their fantastic year.
Buzzing, 3 tries out for me personally, last ever Bucks game, so couldn't have gone better really, fairy tale ending.
Do you think you deserve to win it throughout the game?
Yeah man, I mean, you know, the game had an ebb and flow, it was all about momentum, they were going up, we were going up, both teams playing hard, nasty, but you know, I felt confident throughout and I feel like overall we deserved it, we are the best team in this league.
I'm now joined by 2 players from this title winning side, Chris Scott and Dan Kovacs. Guys, thank you very much for joining us in the studio today. I just want to get your thoughts on what has been an incredible season for your team.
Yeah, it was an amazing season, ended really well. So like, if you win the league, it's always going to be a great season, but it has been a really enjoyable year.
The promotion was obviously something that we really wanted, and it's something that we've managed to achieve, which is obviously good for Sunderland Uni itself, not just our team.
That has always been my goal since I started uni as well, was to get the team promoted. So I finally did it in my 3rd year, so it's great.
What were your expectations at the start of the season? Because obviously with a different team coming in, new players and stuff, you weren't expecting to win the league. I mean, what were your expectations? Were they similar to that?
I think it was obviously similar expectations to what we achieved in the season before. So sort of like mid, like close to the top of the table, but then obviously games just sort of proved us wrong and proved better.
Yeah, definitely that. We weren't expecting to do anywhere near as well as we did, and we expected, like you said, mid-table, and then just with some of the performances, and then you could just tell we were a totally different team to the previous year.
Why is that? What was the key? Was there a particular game that you went, well, we can win this?
Probably, I think it was the Sheffield game was a big standout moment for me. And I think as well, times when we played without the coach and we could see that we were listening to each other, even though there was no real designated leader of the team, we would all just chip in and people would take from the experienced players what they had to say and we'd just work with it. I think that worked really well. It proved how much we'd come together.
And at the start of the season, we like obviously we had pre-varsity, then a few games, and we were like beating teams by like 20 plus points. And obviously we were thinking to ourselves, like, obviously that wouldn't last for the full season because obviously there's harder teams. But it was obviously, if we can do this well against them, then against other teams, obviously we should be able to win as well. So it was a good bit of confidence underneath us.
Obviously, you did amazing in the league, and you did very well in the cup. I mean, you were unlucky to get to the final. Just getting your thoughts on the semi-final game. Was it a game that you thought you should have won, or was it a justified result?
We could have won it. It was one of the games where the teams were so equally matched. Like, everyone was pretty much equally matched by the other team, and just like the score would go to and fro, and it was so close all the way till the end. It was just like hard lines of like any team could have really won it. It was just the way circumstances went was obviously in their favour.
2 minutes longer and it would have been a different game, and then 2 minutes after that it would have been a totally different game. It just would have been, however much longer we played for, it could have been totally different. So yeah, it was all the way through. You couldn't tell who was going to win that one. It just came down to the wire. But
how instrumental has Coach Brian Calder been in instilling that never say die attitude into your team?
He's been massive. He's the whole reason we've come together as a team. Like, the whole reason we've been successful is because we've gelled so well, and he's the reason we've gelled. Like, just his little bits of banter and stuff in the air sessions, even though he's really serious about basketball, he makes it an enjoyable thing where if, for example, like if I do something wrong, Chris isn't going to like scream and shout at me, and I'm not going to do that to him. And if we do, we'll get over it. Like, we have had a little disagreements and stuff, but then straight away coach sorts it out, and it's like makes it fine again.
Past us, you know?
Yeah, and he's the reason for that, definitely.
Yeah. It comes to sessions, like, he never brings any, if he has any problems, like, he'll never bring it to a session with us. He just comes, does what needs to be done, like, he works as hard in training, and then focuses on, like, the key things, and, like, that obviously pays off.
Now, coming into the final game against Teesside in the Bucks League, it was a dramatic finish, but before that, leading into the game, did you feel the pressure knowing that you had to win the title?
Myself personally, I don't really like pressure of games. Doesn't really affect me negatively. It always makes me play better. I'm always better in the high pressure situations. I think that's just something from like my experience of basketball. I've always just had to like achieve in those situations. But I think there was a few players on the team who maybe were a little bit uptight by it. But then as the game went on, that kind of went away. Once they realised it's just the same really as any other game, just you're still going to go out there and try and win. You're going to do anything you can to win, like you normally would. So I think everyone else actually, after a while, got fine.
Yeah.
Who would you say were your toughest opponents in the league this season?
I'd say Teesside, obviously, and Sheffield. Sheffield are a very strong side. Like, we managed to win against them once, and they beat us once. And they're one of them teams where, like, they're like some of our players where they don't know what giving up is. Like, that's what makes them so good.
And no matter how much I don't like their Sheffield's coach, I really don't think he's a nice person, but he coached a really good game.
Yeah.
In the first time we played against them, they did, I can't remember what, was it a full 2-2-1 press or something they used a lot?
Press.
And we spent all the weeks leading up to our next game against them working on how to beat that. And then we came out for the game, they didn't do it once. And they totally switched it. Really well coached by their coach. We'd wasted, in a way, a couple, like probably 3-4 hours working on that. And I think that's probably one of the reasons we struggled in that game. We'd worked out, we'd changed the way we play slightly to accommodate for that, and it would have worked amazingly. Yeah. And then their coach went and switched it. So I think how unexpected the way they played was a factor, and the way some of their players who in the first game didn't really do much, and we thought, they're nothing. He was that mixed race guy, the tall one, ended up hitting like one of the game winner, like one of the really important baskets near the end of the game. And normally I was like, I'll just let him shoot. He's not a good shooter. Yeah. And then he ended up being the one who hit it. So I think that was what was so good about them. They were so unexpected. So I think they were the hardest opponents.
Coming back to the final game against Teesside, it was sort of a bit like a Hollywood story. I mean, in the final quarter with a minute to go, you were behind. Did you feel that you were never out of it, even though it was such tight minute coming in?
I never felt like we were out of it at all. Basketball, it really is a game of runs, and I think we really wanted it. You could tell our team wanted it so much, and we were leaving it all on the line. 4 points is nothing really. You can easily turn that round, and we had the right game plan. We knew how to take it to overtime, and that's how we were going to win it, was taking it into overtime. And once everyone got on the same page and we were all working towards that same goal, that's when it was totally fine.
Yeah, like when we play teams, obviously, like we found throughout the season, it's not really like teams beating us. It's either we win or we lose the game, depending on how we play.
Yeah.
And as long as we keep our heads up, like it's always going to be a game that was like in our grasp. Like we just had to do the right things.
Did you feel many key decisions went your way this season?
Throughout the season, I think we got bad calls made, and it was affecting us. Like there was quite a few times where key players got fouled out when I don't think they should have, or they were in foul trouble early when I don't feel they should have. But I think kind of karma came around for us, and in that Teesside game we got a few good calls at key times as well. Like the refereeing, it wasn't biased in any way. It was just we got the good calls when we needed them. So when near the end of the game, when the momentum was kind of in the balance, and then we ended up a little touch foul when they probably legitimately got a steal, and I think that made a big difference in the game. Big difference.
Winning the title has led you to being promoted to Division 1A. What are your expectations for next season?
I think obviously we'll lose a lot of players this year. It's going to be obviously rebuilding the team, trying to get back to obviously that level. And at the higher level, I think a good expectation would be to like sort of mid-table, just to get like a firm place. So we're playing at that higher level, and then obviously as time goes, we'll aim to try to get the top of that table.
Yeah, I think the big thing is just making sure we stay in that league. If we can make sure we're not in the relegation area, then that's great, because we're going to have so many new players coming through. If they can get experience in Division 1A, it's going to mean in the second year and in the third year they're going to be ready for it. I think it's going to be, for most players coming in, that step straight from wherever they've been playing, maybe college basketball or just a local league side, and going from that straight into Division 1A is going to be a big step up. And I think a few players may struggle, but I think once they get that experience, they'll be totally fine in the second and third year. So I think it's just vital that we aim to at least stay mid-table. Yeah, definitely a building. Yeah, exactly.
Is there any particular game next season when you look at that fixture list that you think I'm really up for this?
Northumbria, without a doubt. They're a local team. It's a team that I know quite a lot of the players. Chris used to go to university there, so I feel that it's more personal. Like it's not like our rivals and we hate them. We've got like a healthy respect for them. But it's definitely a team that I look forward to playing every time.
I think it's just because they're local. Like, Newcastle are also in their fixtures. They're another team that would obviously like to play. I think we've played them and beat them this season. And it's obviously something we would want to repeat. But with Northumbria, like we played them last season, and we obviously want to beat them this season, like coming up, because this season they went up in the table. So it's just getting a chance to play against them again. We
had some really big games against them, like last year. Some really big games where they were one of the best teams in the league. As you can tell, they got promoted that year. So they were a really good team, and we still competed with them all the way through. And they were really good games. It was like the equivalent of the Teesside game. It was that kind of game of last season. And it makes it just more important. Like if you've got a team that you've it's not like a vendetta, but you want to again prove that you're a better team than them.
It's a
and
good
if you
game.
it always is a good game. And they're all experienced players that play for that team. And their coach, their head coach, used to coach me as well.
Coach,
He's a really good coach, so that makes it even more personal. You want to show him where you've come and stuff. So
now, obviously, in the last few weeks, with the budget coming out and being cuts to basketball and stuff, and with the appeal being rejected a few weeks ago, just wanted to get your thoughts and how you feel about that.
I think basketball, it should have kept its funding. It's a massive sport. Like it's on the same level, if not worldwide. It's actually it's pretty much the same level as football, and especially now I've found in the UK, American sports are starting to become a lot more popular. Like look at the Super Bowl, how big that was, and then NBA. There's loads of NBA fans. It's a growing sport that's big in the UK, and it should have that funding there.
Without a doubt, I coach basketball as well, and it's a shame for all those up and coming players, like the 14-year-olds and stuff, who aspired to that. That was their goal, and now it's getting took away from them. And if the Olympic side's not getting as much funding and stuff like that, it's gonna trickle down in everything else.
Yeah.
Like just local teams are gonna maybe have less of a vision of developing players for that, and it's gonna have a massive knock-on effect on everything like that. I think that's a massive shame, because like the amount of stuff basketball's taught me as a person, not just the sport, but like the commitment and the fact if you're playing basketball and you associate with people who are so dedicated to a sport, rather than being out on the street doing whatever, I think it's a massive shame just for society as a whole, really.
So you'd say it's played a massive role in both your lives?
Huge.
Just tell us how much you love it as well, in terms of what you love about basketball.
It's a way of life. Like, it's just something that you really enjoy. Like, I'll get up on a day and I'll know I'll have uni and stuff in the gym, but I really look forward to on the night time just getting to get kitted up and just go and play basketball. Like, it gets away from like the stress of normal life, and it's one of them things. Like, it's just so much fun to me. Like, I can't really put words on it. Like, it's just one of them things.
It does just kind of become, you're not going to play basketball, it's just what you do. It's just like your life almost. I know that sounds a bit extreme, but it's just one of those things that you just do every whatever day. Like, you don't even really think about it. It's kind of almost part of your identity. Like, I think being around basketball for so many years, it becomes just ingrained in you. Like, you start basing your clothing choices on sport. I know that's like everything becomes involved in it, and I think it's a great sport. I think it's something that a lot of people should get involved in because it teaches you so many things.
Why do you think it's becoming such a popular sport in the UK?
I think obviously NBA has a massive effect. Like, you get like athletes like LeBron James who are massive over here, and a lot more people you see wearing like NBA jerseys on the street. And I think because of that, that's grown as well. And like I said, with the funding, like for sport to grow, it's needed. Like, for young talent to come through, they need the like excitement and they need the interest in it, and it's just one of them things that's grown in this country.
I think American culture is starting to affect England a lot. I think just like even TV programs, everything in America is starting to become like more our culture. You start hearing people talking like Americans do. Everything American is becoming the way we act. We kind of want to be that. Yeah. So I think you watch, what's that program called? Was it One Tree Hill? It's all basketball based. Stuff like that. Like, people start watching those programs and then they'll want to be part of it. So they'll start like acting in similar ways and trying. That sport is like a massive role in that. They start getting interested because of things like that. I think a lot of it is just like TV and media is starting to become. You see the typical important
American things of like, you get like in like high school. You get like jocks who play American football, and then you get the basketball players, and you get the cheerleaders, and they're three things obviously that this university does, and they are big in this country now that have just came through with time, and like they've came through with time to this level. So another couple of years, it's going to be huge. It'll be on the same level as football and rugby and stuff.
Now, obviously, with varsity coming up in a few weeks, and you'll be playing against Teesside after what happened in the final game of the season. Does it make it extra special?
Without a doubt.
Yeah, it's varsity. It's always a big deal. Like, it's something that obviously we don't want to lose. We don't like losing in general. But obviously we need to prove that it wasn't just a bit of like refs on like being a bit biased or whatever. It's just us proving like we are the better team. Like, it doesn't matter what they bring out. They could bring out like any players, previous players and stuff. Like, we just want to prove that we are the better team.
Yeah, you were talking to us before, like you were saying that their team was planning on putting a complaint in, claiming that it's purely down to refereeing that we won. I think this is our chance to really prove that it's not that we are a better team than them, and that is a massive thing. Like, it's a lot of pride involved in sport as a whole. So I think
and the crowd. Like, it's the end of varsity. It could be dependent on us if we win all of varsity, because obviously it's dependent on how the teams do throughout the league. If we win that, it could be the win of varsity, and we'll have a massive crowd, and all of our friends will be there. Like, you want to do well. Like, we don't like failure, you know what I mean?
No, we're representing the whole of the university, so as we're like the showcase event at the end, it's really important that we do well in it. Like, you don't want Teesside to come here and then us to lose like the showcase event in front of both full teams for like all sports, all of our supporters from Sunderland Uni. So, like, you don't want to mess up.
Will having that home crowd advantage help your team?
Yeah, it'll carry us. Like, I think we have probably one of the best home team like crowd, because they get behind us no matter what. They scream so loud, and it pushes you on. Like, if you're down, they'll just start chanting, and they're permanently on your side. Like, it's quite funny sometimes. Like, they'll hear a little bit of abuse when like the opposite team are shooting free throws and stuff, which is always good fun. But the fun makes it enjoyable, and that gets you back in a positive mindset. So they're always there for you. They're like another team member, to be honest.
Yeah, it sounds like the kind of thing you just say to keep people happy.
Yeah.
But they really have helped us a lot this year. Like just having you see the same faces in the crowd every week, and it gives you an extra reason to win. Like when you're tired and you've been playing like 30 minutes and you're wrecked, and then you hear them chanting from the crowd, it makes you kind of feel that actually no, like it's not just about you. It's about like say the second team are coming to support you. You're taking their position by playing. They could be playing first team if you're not working hard enough. Then having them shouting from the crowd, you're stopping them from playing. So it's like extra motivation.
Yeah. Just final question. Obviously, with you in your final year, Dan, and you in your second year, what are your aspirations for next year in terms of your own personal goals in terms of basketball?
Well, for me, I'm coming back to do my masters, so I'll still be coming and representing like Sunderland University. Hopefully, still playing for the first team. It's my goal. So yeah, I'm just aiming to keep on improving as a player and get to the highest level I can.
Same for me, really. Like I've got my third year coming up, and then I plan to obviously go further on with like PGC or whatever. Probably at this university still, and it's just to better myself. Like I know what my strengths and weaknesses are, so it's like obviously over the summertime it'll be getting myself in the gym and on courts and stuff, just to better myself, ready for the next season, so I can come out a better player and like earn my place.
Well, guys, you've done an absolutely brilliant job this season for the university, and I hope you do fantastic next year as well. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
It's time for Minority Minute now, and for those of you who are new to the show, I'll quickly explain this feature. Each week we take a different minority sport at the university and allow one of their team members to explain that sport in 1 minute. And this week we thought we'd take a look at darts at the university. Here's Dan Kelly from the Sunderland Shafts darts team with this week's minute.
So, how long's the Sunderland Shafts team been running?
It's been running for 2 years now. This is my first year, so there's a few people that were off there's a few people that were here last year, so yeah, it's getting there.
How popular is the darts team?
We did have 3 members, and then now we've got about 10, so it's getting there, but it's just we like more members basically.
What are your aims for this season?
Get a win.
Simply get a win.
Basically, want to win to show how good we are. Last year we were the best in the league, I heard, so this year hopefully we'll win a few games basically. Yeah.
Why do you love darts so much?
I love darts because it's something like I am good at, I enjoy doing. It's not a sport that is active, and you play football, I play all the time, so it's a sport where you just concentrate on your floor and hopefully be successful. That's what we are aiming to be.
Thanks very much there, Dan, with our Minority Minute for this week. I'm afraid that's all we've got time for, though. Keep up to date with all local and North East sport. Visit our Twitter page at @sports_byte and download our app available via the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. I'm Chris Wright. Thank you very much for watching. See you again next time.